Welcome back to another episode of Listings and Lullabies, a girl dad's journey with your host, Varun Verma. My name is Vikas Sandhi, and we'd like to welcome you all to episode 5, everybody.
Big time, baby.
And
Big
guess
time.
what? We're back at 5 Iron Golf in downtown Cincinnati, right? We took a little
We are
break.
back on set. We're back
on set, and we've got, man, an OG friend of ours.
Yeah.
An OG friend.
Yeah.
And I know I could do the introduction of this one, and that could take like 45 minutes, but I'm going to let Varun do this one because you got this guy from his busy schedule. You got him here.
I know. He squeezed us in. He is a very popular, high-in-demand individual, and we love this man. His soul, his essence, his mind, his just friendship is just gold, man. So without further ado, sitting next to us in between Vikas and I is Hamad Siddiqui. Yes, sir. An OG friend of ours, right? You guys went to college together. You guys have known each other from the jump, and then we got connected because I was always just that little kid hanging around. You was always at Friday night pizzas with us and everything. Yeah, remember that? Yes,
And
throwback.
His official, unofficial title is that he's the unofficial mayor of Cincinnati.
Yes,
so,
yes, he
Aftab,
is. Yeah.
You got some competition. I know the re-election's coming up soon.
Yeah.
We told you to run, man. We told you to run.
Oh, are we announcing something big this hour?
Hardly. Thank you.
About the wife,
Yeah, so yes, really happy to have you on. You were definitely on one of our lists, or top of our list of guests to have on because, like I said, everything you're involved with, everything that we've known about you that we are so excited to share with our viewers and listeners. So without further ado, Hamad, tell us about who you are, what you do, where you came from, what you love, what you hate, what you're passionate about. Share with everyone your glory that we love about you.
Well,
Yeah.
that should probably take about 17 seconds and all of it. So are you sure you're talking about the same guy? Because I started looking around when you guys were who is this guy?
Yeah. You didn't know we were going to hype you up.
Absolutely. But no,
Right.
we got a lot of history, guys. I mean, almost, 3 decades worth, right?
30 years, man.
As I think most people may not know or may know, Mr. Sondi is the guy that introduced me to my lovely wife of 24 years and running.
Huge.
Wow.
Huge.
Yeah.
24 years.
yeah.
That was the best connection we ever made, man.
It depends on the day, right? I'm joking. No. It was fantastic connection, and I'm just lucky she had me, and and still with me. And then this guy, I opened your first bank account, man.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Yeah, I remember that young kid who just turned 18, walked into when I was a branch manager. Got him a free checking account.
Helped me get through a couple overdraft fees.
Was it at PNC?
It was a PNC.
PNC.
Wow.
Yeah, Clifton PNC, man.
Former employer,
Yeah.
Definitely a lot of history.
Wow.
And just thank you for having me. I've been watching your podcast now since you guys pretty much started, and I love the topics. I love the guests you have, and just the topics you guys cover are so impactful and just so meaningful for our community, for our personal space that we're in as parents, as individuals, as adults. Right? So
it's crazy.
I appreciate what you guys do. So thank you. Really honored that you guys asked me. And,
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, of course. We had to have you.
For sure. Yeah, no, glad you could make it, and we're excited to have you on. So you're obviously a girl dad, 2 lovely daughters, 1 amazing son. So why don't you introduce them to us, and we'll jump in and kind of get your experience of being a girl dad and how that
he's a veteran.
He's
now,
a veteran, empty nester almost. Like, you
18 years strong.
Yeah, that's crazy.
18?
I know.
Really? Farise is 18?
Turned 18 in January.
Wow.
We'll be going to my alma mater and mine and Sam and all of our alma mater.
Yeah. UC, go Bearcats.
She decided on UC? Let's go.
She did. It was kind of a toss-up between Ohio State, Miami, and UC, but because our son Sherbaz is now a junior at UC, so I think them being together and also her best friend got into the nursing program.
Oh,
so
nice.
That had a lot to do with it.
Okay,
And, So 18 years being a girl dad, but honestly, fellas, nobody's prepared to be a girl dad, right? Like, it's just one of those things that you're not born to be a girl dad. I was lucky in the sense that I was raised with 3 sisters.
You got a lot of experience.
I have a lot of experience because I had a phenomenal father who was probably for me the model to follow.
Yes,
huge.
As a man, how to deal with your daughters and how to work with your daughters and be there for them. So I guess I'm I can't take any credit because I had that template right in front of me.
That's huge.
Wow.
Yeah.
So just kind of continuing that on has been my biggest, way of, being a dad, is being present, being available, and just following, the lines that were drawn for me by a much bigger and better man than I am.
Yeah.
So,
And what you just said is kind of exactly what in episode 3 with author of Girl Dad book.
Yeah.
One of her goals with the book was to learn from other dads to be the best type of dad you can for your girl, and giving that perspective from the girl's perspective helps reinforce that. And you having such a great role model just helps continue that positivity, that journey along. And so that's awesome. And your dad was a great man. Rest in peace to his soul.
thank you.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. So miss him every day. But I know you talked about kind of starting from the beginning, right? So
Yeah.
unlike you guys, I wasn't born and raised here.
Yeah.
I came here from Pakistan as
Yep.
an international student.
Pakistan.
Pakistan. Almost 26 years. This May. So
Wow.
More than half my life I've been here, and getting that, cultural differences and everything was helpful in kind of creating, the model or the template again that I wanted to follow.
Yeah.
It can be challenging because
Yeah.
you are kind of squeezed in between two cultures that are diametrically opposed in many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the same time, we have this opportunity in this country, and I remind my kids of this all the time. We as immigrants or first generation immigrants, like you guys are, my kids are, we're second generation because of my
Yeah.
wife.
Yeah.
Is that we have this amazing opportunity to pick and choose the best of both.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right.
We can pick the best of our native cultures from our parents, like the respect for elders, like the family values, the
Yep.
community focus, and
Yep.
then marry that with, the industriousness of the new world,
Yeah.
right? Of like, this riveting, this scintillating new country of America. And I say new compared to ours.
Right,
We come from a
right.
4,000-year-old culture, but so we have this opportunity to kind of see, what we want to bring with us and
Yeah.
what we want to incorporate here. So
Yeah.
we're very lucky in that sense.
Yeah, and my dad has raised us the exact same way.
Yeah.
Like that same saying that you get the benefits of both.
Exactly.
Absolutely right.
And many don't have that opportunity, right? They're kind of in that kind of, I don't want to say a rut, but
Yeah.
kind of they're stuck in a way, and they don't really have too much of like a perspective.
Right.
We
Right.
have that.
They're more singular minded, and not anything against them, but they don't have the other cultural experiences or kind of just path or journey that can give them different experiences that we all have gotten from.
Exactly.
Right.
You-
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
Now, go ahead.
No, I was saying, and and not everything is perfect on either side, right? And,
It's not.
And
It's not.
sometimes I think culturally we do get into that zone where we're like, this is our culture, we're going to follow it, no matter good or bad. This is it, right?
Yep.
Like, and that sometimes can chafe at a child,
Yeah.
especially a child that's born in this part of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're trying to impose a value system that is completely alien on them,
Right.
they don't have any. None of their friends is doing it. They're none of their,
Right.
circle. I mean, that's a little unfair to ask of a child.
Yeah.
To carry that burden of an entire culture.
Right.
Just because you feel that's the right way to do it.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Now, the other thing I was going to say was, while we get best of both worlds versus like if you're just in Pakistan or just here, is like for us first generation borns, and we've witnessed, I've definitely witnessed this, I'm sure you have too, but in America, people sometimes will be like, oh, where are you originally from?
Yeah.
And then when you go to India, they're like, you definitely ain't an Indian or
Yeah,
Pakistani.
yeah.
Like, you look different.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So, like, there's a little bit of that, what's it called? Pariah? Like you're just, there's no
Foreign.
land that, foreigner
Yeah,
to
yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So there's that one side, but I think that helps build resilience too, though.
You're
So-
absolutely right.
For sure.
You're absolutely
For
right.
sure.
And there's some things that are gonna, like what you said is exactly true. You kind of feel like you're stuck between two spaces and you don't belong
Yeah.
to either.
Yeah.
But I think that's on you to sort of be okay with that.
Oh, exactly.
You
Yeah,
know?
you're
Like,
absolutely
and,
right.
Like you have to own who you are, and you are a product of two cultures. You're a product of two worlds, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
own it.
Yeah.
Yep. And nowadays, a lot of like even keynote speakers that we've seen, they talk about becoming a global citizen.
Yeah.
right? And I think that's where the advantage comes, is being a global citizen, right? So, yeah, no, awesome. But continue on with some of your journey. This is how
there's so much to unpack here because you have like us, you weren't born and raised here, so obviously there's different experiences from that. But then also coming from Pakistan, you were born and raised with 3 sisters, and then you have 2 daughters. So the just growth and journey of 2 different cultures, how has that impacted you in terms of advice, how you are as a girl dad, based on what your sisters experienced? Because obviously you witnessed that firsthand, and how has that helped you give that kind of just guidance and advice to your daughters who are, American born, and obviously they are influenced by certain different things that were different to you and your sisters. So kind of share that with us about how you've merged and combined that to still try to be the best dad and girl dad you can be.
I think it's a great question.
Yeah.
I was a young father, right?
Yeah.
I was 24 when I had my son.
Crazy.
Wow. So I've been a father now for almost 21 years.
Yeah,
maybe 2 years.
almost more than you've been.
So,
Wow.
and if I say that there's a template or a model, I would be lying, right?
Yeah.
Every day is different.
Yeah.
The main, I think, ingredient that I've always followed with my kids is honesty. I've told them at a very early age that I'm feeling this out myself, right?
Yeah.
And there's going to be times that I'm going to do things or say things that you don't like or you don't agree with.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Come to me respectfully and say, you know what? And they call me Aga. So they're like, they say, Aga, you know what? I think you are being unfair here.
Ooh.
And this is why I feel you're being unfair, because this. And I said, I will promise you that I will listen.
Yeah.
Can I promise you that I will agree with you and do exactly? No.
Right,
But
right.
at the very least, right, I will listen to you
Yeah.
and I will acknowledge your perspective.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
And honestly, I told it to them. I think my son Sharbaz was probably like 7 years old. He probably didn't understand half what I was telling him, right? But I've reiterated that to them throughout their upbringing. And he's 21 years old, and we still talk about that. I was like, I'm gonna screw up, and call me out. Respectfully.
Yeah.
But hey, this is not how, because I'm learning as well. So I think having that element of honesty in your relationship with your kids is very, very important.
Yeah. Communication is so key.
They have to see that you're human.
Yeah.
Because,
Exactly.
Like when you think about how you saw your parents at that age, right? They were like these pillars of society, right?
Right.
Like these giants.
Right.
Who could do no wrong.
Right.
And the first time they did do something wrong, it was just like, oh my gosh, what just happened?
Right.
I don't need to be a paragon of like whatever for my kids.
Right.
I'm happy enough just to be their dad.
Yeah.
And somebody that they can count on. So
Right.
I didn't need like these, oh my God, dad's in town. Let's everyone in the house. Let's just
That fear.
attention,
Yeah.
get the hot food out, get his chair ready, get his slippers. Yeah. I didn't need that. I was like, hey, Dad, what's up? Fist bump. I was okay with that.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
That was probably me coming here to the U.S. when I was a teenager, as compared to maybe if I'd grown up in Pakistan, right?
Right.
Because that's how my dad was raised. I mean, my dad was a giant to the whole family. He would walk in, the whole house knew he'd walked in.
Wow.
Right? Like food was getting ready for him. Like the guy do his massage was getting ready for him. His chai was coming.
Yeah.
The slippers were being put next to his salwar kameez was being prepared on the other side so he could change. The man never did laundry in his
What a
life.
king.
Yeah, I mean that's just what the father figure was or is in our culture, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
I didn't want them to see me, because then what to me what that took me away from is like it didn't humanize me in front of them.
Right.
I want to be human, so they come to me.
Yeah.
And I'm the guy that is like they're bouncing, they can bounce stuff off. I'm their sounding board. I'm the person that they come to for all the advice.
Yeah.
And so again, that honesty piece was very critical.
That's huge, and I love that, because I think a few of the guests we've had on have shared similar kind of thought processes, even with their younger kids. You want to just be able to openly communicate with them, because a lot of our culture, our generation, the way we were raised and especially in the Indian culture, no drinking, no partying, always studying, all this stuff, just instilling fear that you're always scared. And then now when you're out on your own in the world, you're now just, lashing out, doing things that you may not have been allowed to do or whatnot. Whereas changing that mentality of, look, we're human, like you said, right? Like, I'm figuring this out the same time you are. So while, yes, I have experience, our experiences are different. And I love what you said there was come to me, we'll talk it out. I may not agree with it, but I will listen to it. And that's what's huge and key in a lot of different things that I've read about, being a dad or being a girl dad or being a father, and just kind of figuring it out, because you're scared shitless every day.
Exactly.
Right? You don't know. There's fears that are unlocked and triggered that you never thought you would ever have as a dad. Right.
Truly.
So those perspectives, and I love that you said that, because that's how I kind of want to be with Ziana. And it's right now we're going through the phase of, okay, how do we discipline now, right? Because we have a toddler. She's 2 years old in a couple weeks, and she's talking. She's says
saying no.
She says, "Walk away, Dad." She knows how to say no. She knows how to get what she wants. And I'm just like, sure, whatever you want, sweetheart.
Right,
but then
right.
Lavisha's like, no, you can't do that, right? So
Right.
we're just trying to figure it out, and we're always asking people, okay, how are you disciplining, or how did you start discipline? So let's ask you that. How did you figure out discipline while also still being the cool dad? Because when you're a girl dad, you just love your daughter. Like,
do, man.
And there's no favorites, of course, but man.
My late mother used to tell me,
Yeah.
because when I had my daughter Parise, right?
Yeah.
I knew from the day she was born that she was special.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
intellect-wise, in every way, she kind of mirrored my personality, even as a child.
Yeah.
So you naturally kind of gravitate to that, right?
Yeah.
And my son is the apple of my eye. It's nothing,
Yeah.
it's just, but differently, right?
Yeah.
So I remember I would talk to my mom, and she would be like, "Be careful. You're being like so like." The favoritism is so clear in the way you're talking.
Yeah.
that this is dangerous, right?
Okay,
That you're not
okay,
gonna be
yeah.
able
Come
to
back to you.
Yeah.
and you won't be able to see her faults, right? Because
Right,
you're,
right.
Like that flip side of where you idolize your parents, you can idealize your child.
You can't.
Right.
Yes.
to a point where like you don't see where the development needs to happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Become spoiled or what?
right, or just completely impossible and a detriment to society, right?
Yeah.
And to her family eventually, because
Yep.
we just didn't do the heavy lifting
Yeah.
initially.
Yeah.
To you, I mean, you're at a stage that is so critical, Lauren, because Zena's young. She's a sponge. She's
Yeah.
picking up everything
Oh, yeah.
you guys are putting down.
Oh, yeah.
You can say the main things, lead with love, all that good stuff. But one thing I will tell you as a girl father,
Mm-hmm.
always remember, you are the benchmark for every man she will ever see. for
Yes.
There you go.
her life.
There you go.
Yeah.
So what you do, how you sound, how you show up for her, right?
Yeah.
Is how she's going to measure every male relationship in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Forward.
Yeah.
And that's a very scary thought.
Yep.
I'll give you guys an example. There's a friend of mine, and I know Vikas has met her. Her name is Nida Hamid. She's a psychiatrist. She's my oldest friend.
Yep.
Kind of like my soul sister, right?
Yep.
And very early on, she lives in Detroit. She's got her own practice, fantastic practice, psychiatrist. So I was talking to her. I'm not a very physical guy. Like I'm not
Okay.
a kisser and a hugger and all that. I mean, I'm fine with it. It's
Yeah.
not like I cringe at it, but
Yeah.
I'm not the guy who's big on that, right?
Yeah. I'm huge on that.
And that's fantastic. And I'll tell you this
Yeah.
is
Very
my
emotional.
development
Very
as a
emotional.
father.
Right. Right.
Because Nida told me something that it resonated with me. She was like, "Are you hugging her a lot?" And I said, she comes up, I'll hug her, but no, I'm not really making. She's like, "Look, if you don't hug her, she's gonna look for that affection elsewhere." And that scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
You were like,
yeah. Yeah.
Come here, baby.
Never letting you-
Like that was me. So even it's little things like that, like
Yeah.
not hugging them, because kids need that.
Right.
And they won't necessarily articulate that to you that they
Yeah.
need that, right? But if they're coming to you, they're like coming on your knee or just like leaning on your knee, whatever.
Yeah.
That means that's what they need. They need
Yeah.
that physical touch.
Yeah.
So with my second daughter, Layla, I'm hugging her and kissing her every day. Like
Yeah.
she's 11 years old, but she'll be sitting in
Oh
my
my
lap.
God.
It might
Yeah.
get awkward in a couple of years,
Yeah.
but you know what? I don't care.
Yeah.
So like I'm telling her the other day, because she's not getting into this phase where take me to Sephora and take me to Ulta and buy me all this makeups, and I've got cake, and I'm like. They're like, come on, please, just a couple more years of baby life.
Yeah.
A couple more years of baby
Yeah.
Lily, of the rainbows and butterflies and
Right.
unicorns.
Yeah.
And, all
Yeah.
that,
Oh, no,
Barbies.
they grow
And
up fast.
They do, man. And she's like, Aga, I'm not a child anymore. And I'm like, you're 11.
Yeah.
You're absolutely a child. But, so hug them,
Right.
kiss them. Always remember that you literally are going to be the benchmark for them
Yeah.
for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
So anytime you feel like, ugh, or this or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Just remember that.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
I'm-
No, that's so huge, because we see that on a daily. I'm always on my phone, for example, right? Work, in my career, whenever work calls, there's no prediction, right? There's just, you got to answer because it could be something urgent that needs to be handled with the current client or transaction, or it could be, the next client. So and that's kind of something I've been struggling with over the last, 18, 24 months, basically, just trying to figure out that work balance. Because, yeah, she is a sponge. Everything she picks up, she has so many toy phones. She's like, hello?
Sees you doing
Right,
it.
she sees me doing it, and she wants to see the screen time and whatnot. So, and I haven't realized, like what you just said about, constantly hugging and doing that, because I'm a very emotional, physical person. Bhavisha's not. I'm more the touchy-feely person. Bhavisha's more of the man in our relationship.
Hey, no gender roles.
Yeah, exactly. And it's awesome to hear that, because it's just, you want to show that affection, because we are the first relationship. We are the foundation of the relationship, because even when Bhavisha and I argue and fight, we try to not do that in front of her, or at least show her that we are hugging and making up or conversing about it, because it's not going to be where, oh, you can't fight or argue in front of the child or whatnot. That's not real. But hearing that part of things, it's we're going through that right now, and she's a sponge and just always want to hug her. And even the moments where she's starting to say words and say sentences, I'm just like, stop growing up. And you have a teenager and 11-year-old now, so I'm sure that's probably like one of the biggest things going through. Have you figured out a way on how to adapt to that, or it's just pain? Yeah, it's just daily. Just,
I said, I've been a dad for two decades or more, but there's still going to be days where you feel like you failed.
Sure.
Right? I have a teenager, and we've had to I have a son in his 20s, and then I have a teenager, and with my teenage girl, just very recently, we had to have a difficult conversation, and I hated myself after that, because I had to say some very, very tough things to her.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which, honestly, kind of embarrassed to say, I went to the bathroom and I shed a few tears, because I was like,
that's not embarrassing.
That's not embarrassing at all. Absolutely. I appreciate you saying that.
I can't believe I said that to my daughter, and then later on, I held myself back from hugging and kissing her right after, because I was like, otherwise, the impact of those words are not going to be.
Yes,
right.
That's true.
So that next 3 or 4 hours, right, was torture for me, because all I wanted to do was to go and comfort her and kiss her and say, you know what, I'll make everything okay, and I'm sorry I had to say these things, but they had to be said.
Yeah.
Because I saw a deviation from, my values and her values and our values, and it needed to be pulled back in. Otherwise, because these kids are wrestling with so much more than we ever did.
Oh yeah, way more.
Absolutely,
especially with the phones, technology, accessibility,
access,
awareness. Access.
The world is at their fingertips.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's there's no comparison from the influences that we had to the ones that they have.
Yeah.
So it's important that we keep our fingers on the pulse of our kids, because they're the only thing that matters.
Right.
Nothing else matters. People talk about money, cars, career, houses, clothes, jewelry. At the end of the day, nothing matters except for the family and the relationships you build. When I lost my parents a few years ago, my dad was a collector, right? My dad collected watches, and he collected DuPont lighters and ties and Hermes scarves and everything. And then when he was gone, I was going through his stuff, and I was thinking, I was like, what does this matter? The man's gone.
Yeah, the man's gone.
Now, all this stuff is going to be divvied up between me, my nephews, my brother-in-laws, and my son.
Yeah.
Right? And the man who bought them with so much, we call shock, right? With so much interest and so much, he's gone. So what is these things, the inanimate objects, right? What I would have traded all of that crap for a couple more hours with him.
More time.
Soaking his wisdom and talking to him.
And unfortunately, we sometimes learn that too late.
We do. I did.
Right?
I did. I learned it way too late. So, but I don't have to make that same mistake with my kids.
Exactly. Right? There you go.
Where I can stress that, this is it, guys. Our children are our legacy. And I know that's a kind of a cliche saying, but if you think about it, not many of us are out there going to build a Taj Mahal.
Right.
Right. We're not going to build an Eiffel Tower. We're not going to build...
Speak for yourself, bro.
Right.
Yeah, many of us. I know I won't. There's no Taj Mahal in my background.
Yeah.
Future.
Right.
Yeah.
My children are my Taj.
Yeah. Wow.
They are my crown.
Yeah.
Wow. They are proof that I existed in this world.
Yeah.
So all my work.
They're your
has to be-
legacy.
they are my
Yeah.
legacy. So after I'm gone, no one's gonna remember because my name's not gonna be in front of the Taj or the Eiffel or the Brooklyn Bridge or the Roebling or whatever, right? It's gonna be Shahbaz Siddiqui, Parisa Siddiqui, and Laila Siddiqui who are going to say like, you know what? They come from good stock. They come from a guy who actually gave them
Right.
shit to move forward, and you know what? He did a decent job.
Yes.
They're good for community.
Yeah.
They're good for society.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what we should see our kids as, right? They are the proof that we existed, and was that existence actually worth it? They are the ones who are going to speak to that.
Yeah.
Not your house, not your car, not the shit that you leave behind in
Yeah.
terms of like, you know, Audemars Piguet watches or
Right.
You know, it doesn't matter. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. I wear a $15 watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shoes on that I bought 4 years ago that
Yeah.
wasn't sold. I don't care. What does
Yeah.
it matter? And you know, I've been
Exactly.
like this since
Well,
college.
yeah.
well,
He's always
yes.
made fun of me. This guy.
No, that perspective
do you,
is. Yeah.
do you feel as though like it's been amplified since you've lost both of your parents?
Absolutely.
Like, yeah,
Absolutely. I grew up a shit ton the last 5 years, man.
yeah.
Like as I said, like you know, we have a
Got some
saying.
more gray hairs, that's for sure.
Definitely more gray hairs. The beard came in. The
beard
yeah,
came in,
so my dad wouldn't let me grow a beard. He was like, he'd be like, no beard. He was like, man, you should be clean shaven and you know, clean cut. He was very strict.
Yeah.
Interesting. In Pakistan, your dad used to
Wow.
say that.
Wow.
He was like, look.
Well, he was also your dad was the dean of a university or something. Or college.
My dad was in politics,
Okay.
in government, and then when he was out of politics, you know, he would get snapped up by the private sector to either run a university or to be on a board of XYZ because he had name recognition.
Yeah. So you didn't live a normal Pakistani kid's life, I would say, and
We were privileged.
you were privileged.
We
That's
were-
what I figured.
yeah. And we were privileged, I mean, in many ways. And also, I grew up in different parts of the world because, again, part
Yeah.
of the career was, you know, you had to dip when things got a little heavy. You know, we lived through 3 different military dictatorships.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You know,
Yes.
so my dad was all about the democratic process. And
Yeah.
everything. So when you know things would happen, we would have to probably get out of Dodge
Yeah.
pretty quickly. And so I was raised, you know, between Saudi Arabia, Europe,
Wow.
different places. So yeah,
Wow.
little off the beaten track upbringing. You know, so but at the same time, you know, we were very in tune with our culture because my dad was not a guy who spoiled you. Like,
okay.
He was very open. He was very big on like, look, I'm going to give you the tools of the trade. Like, I'll give you an education, but you know, it's like a slap on the ass. Now go be all you can be.
Yeah.
Right. Like, don't expect me. So you know, I had to build everything from scratch, and I loved that.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't have an old boy network to help me through.
Yeah.
You know, and everything, and neither did my sisters, and we, you know, that was a very positive lesson that we learned
Yeah.
very early on from him.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, no, that's good. So you have a lot of lessons, and you've gotten and received a lot of lessons. So what are some lessons that you've learned from your daughters?
Ooh, that's a great.
That is a very good question.
Yeah.
Man.
Man, I wish I could give you like one big one. I mean, every day, Varun.
Yeah.
Every day. I
Yeah.
think the biggest one is patience.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, like I have 2 speeds. I'm either like a decent, nice guy, or I'm a complete ass.
Yeah.
I don't have an in between.
Any in between?
Right? Like I just not smart enough or whatever. What
Yeah.
you see is what you get. I wear my heart on my sleeve. You
Yeah.
know, and I'm not probably the most patient human being. You know, when I'm on the other side of that spectrum.
Right.
So what they've taught me is that second and third gear, and it's still being built. Like, I'm not saying I'm there yet.
Yeah, yeah.
We're all works in progress, probably till the day we're in the grave.
Yep.
But you know, it's I think patience, the ability to listen,
Yeah.
has been huge.
Yeah.
Getting their perspective,
Yeah.
and that's put me like I think it's an advantage for my life. because
Yeah.
It's allowed me to kind of take those skills and that skill set in my professional life as well.
Yeah.
Because to be more of a listener, you feel you have all the answers, especially as a parent. You're an authority figure, you know. So I tried to always stay away from that. Like I don't have all the answers. I have an idea.
Yeah.
Right.
Based on what I said earlier, like I saw my mom, I saw my dad. You know, they were great templates.
Yeah.
But I wasn't the same kind of kid my son is. My daughter's not the same kind of girl my sister is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, you have a framework, but you have to be able to listen and to be patient and understand and see the different perspective to be able to then flesh out your own pathway,
Yeah.
your own moment.
Yeah.
So I think that's I think being humble, like they've humbled me in
Yeah.
so many ways.
Yeah.
When I think I'm the shit,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
something will happen, or they'll do something, or show me something. I'm like, I'm really not this shit. I
Yeah,
don't know
you
anything,
ain't shit.
Like these kids are the ones who are really the ones who are showing me.
Man, this is some great stuff. Great stuff.
100%, because, like you said, it translates into how you are as a man and how you are at work as well. You know, like for me, I just always operated impulsively, both in business and in life, and you know, very materialistic focused. And now I think about everything that I spend, everything that I do comes back to Ziana and Sahil. Like, okay, do I need to spend this? Like, you know, I love watches, but do I need to go spend this? And what can I do with that money and help them grow and help, whether it's support them, fund them, do something that's going to help them build their legacy. And also, like you said, in the materialistic world of, you know, our kids are our legacy, right? So, and then, learning the patience, you know, humbling yourself and whatnot, because you became a parent before social media and all this stuff grew up. Kind of,
that's
like
right. Yeah, you
grew
did. Wow.
as to where it is, and you're now dealing with kids that are heavily involved and focused in the social media world. So, kind of, what have you learned or adapted, or how did you adapt to that whole world? Because that's one of my biggest fears is as well, and something we talked about with Madeline, the Girl Dad author, about, you know, social media world, because a lot of times social media overall, we think, I feel, and I think some will agree, it's a very negative mental health factor, social media is. And with women as well, too, because you see certain things, you know, maybe body imaging or
and
whatnot. There's a lot of extra pressure, I think, that women...
We get it too, buddy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, we get it too, for
Trust
sure.
me, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, share with us about how you adapted to that, having, you know, 2 daughters, obviously a son as well. And I think Layla does some YouTube channels type stuff too, right? So how did, like, all that, you know, come? Because Bavisha, last time we were at your house with the girls and things, it was just we left that and we're like, these are adults. Like, we were just talking to them. These are just full-grown adults, not kids. And we've been able to witness you as a dad, and you've been fantastic. But share with us kind of your experiences, how you've adapted and how you've learned and grown and dealt with all that.
Again, great question, man.
Yeah.
I mean, social media is such a Pandora's box, right? Once it's open, you're not gonna, you know. So it's either you live like, you know, tinfoil hat, shack in the woods,
right?
You know, and completely unplugged.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna be part of this world, that Pandora's box is getting open.
Yeah.
And I know there's, you know, safeguards and guardrails, whatever you want to call it, you can do that. But where does it stop then, right? Like, is that so? For good or for bad, right? I'm not saying this is the right way. I've never really put restrictions on their social media.
Okay.
Because I feel like my value system and my upbringing is
that's
more that they need it.
That's the guidance.
So, right. So, I mean, you know, that's really it. And I know it's not the best answer or probably the most, you know, articulate
No,
answer,
it's a fair answer. It's a simple answer, because there's no right answer, right? It's how you want to restrict or give or let them learn on their own, in essence, because while we want to protect them on every moment and every minute of the day.
Right. But I'll give you an example. Like, you know, like both my girls are very, you know, whatever that word means now, feminine, right? Like, they're your stereotypical, what you thought maybe 20 years ago. Like, they're into makeup, they're into clothes, they're into hair and all that stuff.
Right.
So from very early on, even my older daughter was to go on YouTube and watch these channels.
Okay.
It's incumbent upon us as parents to know what they're looking at.
Yes.
Right? So the channel that she was following, I heard that, hey, this is one that pedophiles follow a lot. Because the person who is, you know, the child who is doing that, right, she's a beautiful little young lady, and, you know, she's only, I think, 12 or 13, and, you know, and so you research and you find that out. And I told my daughter, I was like, look, there's some really scary guys who are doing that, who are out to hurt young girls.
Yeah.
So I don't want you to be on this. And I explained that to her, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And maybe we do some other tutorials, makeup tutorials. Same thing with Layla's YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
So my wife, Samreen, was very instrumental in monitoring that channel. Like, she's the one who created it for her. She's the administrator.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we made sure that it's not a public channel.
Okay. Right.
So not just some sicko.
It's made for kids. It's only on like YouTube Kids or something like that. Yep.
Right.
Oh, that's
Again,
brilliant.
I'm not that tech savvy.
No.
but
I got you.
There's certain safeguards we built in, right?
Awesome.
But at the same time, like, you can't say like you can go on social media, and then you limit screen time to some extent, right? And,
Right.
You know, you're in bed by 8:30. Like you put those
Right.
stipulations in there, but they have to be able to have that window into the outside world.
Yeah.
Because they are going out. And, you know, you don't want them to be pariahs in their social network either.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, Layla and Preeti, the only kids who can't go on YouTube.
Then they're gonna revolt even
They're
more.
gonna lash out,
right?
correct.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because that's what I did. You know,
Right.
Everything my parents put like a block on.
You wanted to open
I
that
didn't
door.
want-
You're
right.
like, yo, I want that.
And I had this conversation with my parents much later.
Ah.
Right? Like when we were able to like have that. And that's how I knew having conversations with your kids is important, because it was liberating for me to have these conversations.
Yeah.
With my parents. And it was much later. You know, my father was, in his 60s. I was in my 30s. You know, my mom was, but we had him, and it was like literally like a weight off my chest. All
Yeah.
that resentment from my teen years and my 20s. No matter how
Wow.
fantastic your parents are,
Yeah.
we all have certain things in our hearts about them, and unless we're very lucky,
Yeah.
that we've always had that relationship.
Yeah.
So to be able to, voice those respectfully to your
It's-
parents and say, you know what, that made me feel like shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they don't want to make you feel like shit.
Right.
They're your parents.
Correct.
Right.
Why would
Yeah.
And I say that to my kids all the time. Like, I'm not doing this to piss you off. I'm not
Yeah.
doing this to make your life
Yeah.
hell. Like, there's a reason. There's
Right.
a method behind my madness.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Whatever you-
Yeah.
Like my
Yeah.
son Shabazz, he still jokes about that. He was my first, so he was the guinea pig, right? So everything he had to go through. So when he was like 14, 15, and he started going to like parties and stuff, and somebody would pick him up, I was like, I want the license plate number of the kid. And he'd be like, I go, why? I'm like, take a picture of his license plate.
Yeah.
So he would be like, I would get like these like, DL like pictures, like he side took him and stuff, because in my mind I was like, something happens, I need to know.
I need to
right?
know, yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
do that as much with my daughter,
Yeah.
right? Like I learned, but like I try to do that stuff, and,
Yeah.
And I wanted him to understand that I'm not doing this to embarrass you, and I'm not doing this. It's because there's scary shit out there.
There is.
There is. Yes.
And that's all. That's all.
Yeah,
it
and
is.
that's
And
what-
it's always been there, but
right,
we
you know?
now as parents see it more and realize it because we now give a shit about that.
Exactly.
Before we didn't care, like, oh, cool, yeah, that happened down the street or this happened in the community, like, cool, it doesn't affect me. But now we're like, oh shit, things you see on TV, things you see on the news, things, you feel that directly and you want to
Exactly.
protect. So,
And,
yeah.
and our kids are in that weird spot, right? Because
Yeah.
you know that saying is, you can't bullshit a bullshitter.
Yeah.
You can't bullshit us.
Yeah.
We've seen it all. Right?
I know. yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
I know what you're gonna say. I know what your excuse is.
Yeah.
I know all that. Right?
Like the other day, my daughter, we were together at her school for an event. She was in student government, and there was a banquet, and then she was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get you guys like some." So you guys, that Dubai chocolate.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
like so
Yeah,
popular
yeah.
right now.
So we live in Mason, and there's this place right there in Westchester, Voice of America Park, that does Dubai chocolate crepes.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And they're fantastic. She's
Yeah.
like, I know you guys love Dubai chocolate. I'm going to get you Dubai chocolate, And we're like, okay. And then she comes back like 2 hours later, right? And you're like, oh, yeah, well, there was like a big line at Dubai chocolate. Like, yeah, because everybody from Cincinnati's beating down the Dubai chocolate crepe door, right? I'm like, don't bullshit a bullshitter. You want to
Yeah.
see your friends. You
Yeah.
guys hung out.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know what? Let me
Yeah.
circle back and get them that stuff. So like stuff like that, they're not going to get away with
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're like,
Yeah.
and I'm exaggerating. It wasn't 2 hours, but
Right.
like, yeah.
And I think, you brought up a good point, which I've seen kind of reemerge, which is value systems. Like, those are so important.
Mm-hmm.
Having values and principles instilled into your family, just like when you build a business, the first thing you do is come up with what's your mission, vision, and values.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, why are we not doing that in our own family unit when that is the most important business you're ever going to run?
Ever
right?
gonna run.
Yeah.
So I think you instilling that and them knowing that now and being informed about that is so key. And so that's something, your kids are super young right now. Like,
Yeah.
you can build a value
Right.
system
Yeah.
and go through that exercise with them, right?
Yeah.
And that value system, because it's such an important thing you said, it can just take one word to make them remind them of that value.
Yes.
system.
Yep.
Like if
Yep.
I think
Yes.
of like the advice my father would always give me, it's a very simple piece of advice.
Yeah.
He used to say, "Just be good, Hamad. Just be good."
Yeah.
Just be
And
good.
the word "good" evoked every bit of
Yep.
guidance and
It encompasses so
Yeah.
much.
exactly. So
Yeah.
I know how to be good because he taught me how to be good.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
You didn't have to say, Hamad, be a good, be responsible. You didn't have to say all that shit. It was
Yeah.
just be good, Hamad. That
Yeah.
was it. And I still
Yeah.
remember those words resonate. Just be good. Just
That's
be good.
awesome, yeah.
Try to be good.
Because that was
and
going to be
lead
one of the
by
things,
example.
like one of the topics I was going to bring up was when you're not with your kids, which you're not always able to be, you know, what's that one core piece of advice that you want them to always remember? And that's great because you're not always going to be with them, but you want them to just, whatever they're doing, wherever they're at in the world, whether it's here at home, whether they're out traveling, whether they're out with friends, whether they're studying abroad, whatever it may be, just remember that one piece that takes them back. And like you said, that word good, right? You hear the word good and you think of the good memories, the good respectful times, the good actions you need to have or you were taught or that were instilled into you as values. It just takes you back to get you out of maybe a dangerous moment or a sketchy moment, or remember that, okay, wait, I need to remove myself from this situation because I remember, you know, what my dad or what my mom said. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
My son, I mean, you guys have met him. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a big kid. He's like, what, 6'2", 6'3". He's a
Yeah.
good-looking kid.
Yeah.
He's in a fraternity.
Oh yeah.
You know, he's...
That's crazy.
But I trust him because
Yeah.
at the same time, you know, when he went to college, what's he majoring in? Biology and chemistry.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's taking his dental school exam and his MCAT at the same time. Because
Wow.
he's a facial-axioplastic surgeon. His friends went on spring break this spring break. He
Yeah.
didn't go. He stayed home and studied for his DAT.
Wow.
And he was upset about it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, like he sat there and I saw him holding his head, and I'm like, "What's wrong?" And he's like, "You know what? They're posting pictures, and I'm feeling bad." And he's a kid. Of course, he's gonna feel.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
of
know,
course. The
he's-
FOMO.
The FOMO, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I promise you, and I know this is not gonna make a difference to you now, but I swear to you,
Yeah.
I'll write it down and sign it with the date.
Yeah.
10 years from now, these kids will be like, you know, I wish I had done what Shirbaz did.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
because Florida will always be there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but it's much more fun when you're a surgeon than when you're a college kid.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I mean, it's
Man.
still fun when you're a college kid. Don't get me
Right.
wrong. There's something to be said about that experience. But like
Yeah.
the fact that he has his priorities straight,
Yeah.
right, is fantastic for me as a father.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
You're on autopilot. You're like, man, all that work I
Right.
did, now the
Yeah.
plant is just growing.
Yeah.
and-
And he's going to be at a party, and I know that there's going to be everything. I mean, we've been in college. I mean, he
Yeah.
goes to OSU for the weekend. He's going to go
First time I
wherever.
met you, bro.
Yeah. I think
Right.
between the three of
Exactly.
us, what our kids will see or witness at parties, we've seen it, we've
Yeah,
been a part of it,
and
we've done it.
10X, 10X we've seen it.
And like I tell my son, I was like, I have seen whatever you think you've seen in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah, yeah.
This man grew up in 4 different countries.
Yeah.
Right? I've been
Yeah.
by myself since I was 17.
Right.
This
Yeah.
shit that I've seen, like, there's no fucking
Yeah.
comparison.
You can say whatever
Yeah.
you want. You
Yeah.
can say whatever.
Correct.
So,
Yeah. There's nothing that's gonna blow my
Again.
mind, dude. We've seen it. Yeah.
don't bullshit a bullshitter, right?
Yeah, don't
Same
bullshit
time.
him. Oh, man.
You got-
Do
you gotta-
good and don't bullshit a bullshitter.
Don't
One and
bullshit
two
with
advice.
That's-
yeah.
that's what we're taking
Communicate.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so you got to trust your kids. Same thing with my daughter. You know,
Right.
she'll be like maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock. I will call her and check in on her where she is, not because of her, but because of, unfortunately, the society we live in.
Yes, yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Just to
of
make
course.
Sure that because being girl dads, we also have to be cognizant of the fact that women tend to be victims a lot.
Yeah.
You know, of
Yeah.
the worst kind of crimes and
Yep.
violence that is out there.
Yeah.
Right. So, as much as we want to think that equality, we have to treat our kids a little bit different. And I hate saying this in a way because
Sure.
in your heart you're like, you know what, I love you equally. I want to treat you equally.
Right.
But it's just the society we
It's
live
the
in.
unfortunate truth of the matter,
It is.
right? Yeah.
So, and I explained this to Parisi, right? Because she's at that age where she's like, well, Shirbaz got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You never called him at like, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, but with you, like, I have to. Because
Yeah.
I don't trust. I trust you. I just don't trust the world.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
world. Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a bullshit excuse.
Yeah.
Right? But like, I couldn't forgive myself if something happened to her. Just because.
Because you
I
maybe didn't check
I
in or
didn't
you
check-
wanted to give her.
right.
Yeah.
no,
yeah.
no.
That's
Right.
the, or she had a flat tire and I didn't check. And she probably thinks she can do it herself. And
Yeah.
and like one of my sisters lives with me as well, right? So
Yeah.
one of the things that I always tell her, I was like, look, I will take care of you for the rest of your life. Like,
Yeah.
like I am with your
Yeah.
aunt.
Yeah.
Right. So don't chafe at me calling you. It's not me anything against you. It's
Right.
just
Yeah.
Me worried about society.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna go to UC for the night, I do need to know who you're staying the night
Yeah.
at,
Yeah.
or you're gonna do like maybe with your brother. I don't. Because,
Yeah.
You know the dangers that are out there, so it's just being aware of that and communicating that.
Right.
Right.
That's a funny story. Like when they were like up until she was 15, we've always lived in like pretty safe, normal area. I
Yeah.
would say normal. I guess it's normal. typical Merc suburbia, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
Cul-de-sacs, kind of suburban life. But even if she would go to her friend's house 3 doors down, I would send her brother with her to walk her. And because in my mind, you know, all these like trafficking gangs that are taking little girls, that was in my mind. Maybe
Yeah.
a little bit extreme, but that's was in my mind, right? So funny story. So my son was like, Shabazz asked me one time, he's like, how come you don't ever like walk me to places, right? They're only 2 years apart.
Yeah.
I was like, because nobody wants probably with a brown boy. So, I was like, nobody wants you. Might be good for labor. Like nobody's out there like trafficking you guys. Right?
Yeah.
Oh,
You're too big to be
God.
a camel jockey. In the
Yeah.
police.
Oh, God.
I know
Yeah.
it's horrible.
Oh,
So, but it was honest. Like, no,
It was honest. You were
Yeah.
being real.
your sisters are in that space where, like, unfortunately, there's people out there, kidnapping young girls. for
Yeah.
that reason.
Yeah.
I read an article. And
Well,
that went off.
And unfortunately, where you come from, Pakistan and India, there are some pandemic level crises over there with what happens to women. And so you are, in my eyes, you're very justified in that protection that you're trying to offer them, right? So it's unfortunate, it sucks, but and we
it
live
does.
it's
Vikas,
better here
I'll
maybe.
challenge you a little bit on that because
Yeah.
I don't even think it's cultural. I think it's human. If I look at crimes against women, I work in an industry where I see more like heinous crimes against women here in the United States than I've
Yeah,
ever
you
seen
don't have
in
to
the
challenge me. I'll
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Just because of that, I don't mean challenging in a bad way. I
Yeah.
I'll
Right.
just say-
Test it. Yeah.
Just to
I
kind
got
of give you another perspective. Like,
But you're right.
I honestly don't think it comes from me being raised in Pakistan. I think it's just comes from me being a brother of 3 sisters, right? And
Fair.
and a girl dad.
Yep.
And living in this world where women for whatever reason are seen as the weaker species, which is not true.
Not true
And
at all.
become targets for the most worst kind of people in
Yeah,
the world. And that could be
predators and-
Pakistan, India, China, Timbuktu, or the United States, right? It's unfortunate. I work with nonprofits in my professional world, and I'll tell you, I sit and I hold my head in my hand sometimes. Like, who thinks of this shit to do to people?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And it's right here in our backyard.
Yeah.
I mean, just the stuff that's going on in Price Hill.
Yeah.
Price Hill
Yeah.
has more sex trafficking of young girls.
It's
than
crazy.
Almost any other city
Yeah.
or place in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Wow.
Most of the Appalachian runaways end up in Price Hill, and there's
Oh, boy.
houses basically serving as brothals
Wow.
in our society.
Oh, I
Yeah.
can attest to that because my dad
it's-
used to own a.
Yeah, it's
a
crazy
store
because
there.
like I said earlier in the episode, it was new fears are unlocked.
Right.
As a dad, as a father, but also as a girl dad too, because it's just like, I mean, and we've mentioned it a couple times in the episode that I'm a huge fan of TV shows that are like cops and fighter related and that basic stuff. But
Chicago Fire.
I can't watch or see anything that involve something hurting a woman or because some of those crime shows, their
they're
focus
pretty-
on that episode is abuse or victimization or rape or sex trafficking and whatnot. And I can't even watch that because my immediate thought goes to just Ziana, and you want to protect your kids every moment of every day. And
Yeah.
the way we do that is what we've talked about this entire episode is what we can instill on them and their values. Okay, how can we put them in the right position to make sure they never get into some situation of that nature? And we are setting our kids up for success, and we're very fortunate too to have the advantages that we do have. That some of those kids in that situation that get into that situation not by choice, not by a bad decision they've made, but some unfortunate circumstance that they were born into.
Yeah.
But what you do in your career, what we do now by doing this episode, this podcast, is what we want to do. Is we want to shed light on those circumstances, those fears, those mental, just challenges.
Yeah,
there.
address it all head on.
Address all of that to help just shine light on how we can all be better. Right? You're doing a lot in your career, which we commend you on tremendously to
Mayor
just
of
help
Cincinnati.
give back and be the mayor of Cincinnati. Absolutely. You heard it here first. Announcing.
No, we are manifesting
Yes,
this. All
we are
right?
manifesting something.
Vote for
so.
Hamas Siddiqui when you see that yard
Yeah.
sign when you're driving by. Just remember this.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, absolutely. So,
You guys are way too kind.
yeah. Yeah.
And sorry, I think like you mentioned like part of why we do this podcast is so that we can all learn and grow and have
Right.
these conversations and share it with other people.
Right.
And I think part of like, what our families grew up in and whatnot, like us growing up, like you being who you are now and raising your girl dads the way you are, or your girls the way you are, like we didn't have access to a lot of this information and knowledge before. Child psychology, like your parents, like would your parents have ever your parents were scholars, so maybe, but like our parents growing up in India, this and that, like they didn't think about child psychology. Oh, me yelling at my child, oh, what's that going to impact
Right.
them with, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's what this is all about. Is we're literally watching humans evolve every day as we go. Like what we're doing now, 30 years ago, was non-existent almost.
Yeah.
Right. Or very small. So.
No, I think that awareness, and that's why I still commend you guys for doing this, and then what your brother does as
Yeah.
well.
Oh yeah.
Huge.
It's because we are naturally. I think if we come back to the cultural thing, maybe people will disagree with me or challenge me on this, but I feel we're a stoic culture, especially when it comes to the
Yes.
males, right?
Yes.
We're told to just step it down, step it
Yeah.
down. That's what men do, right? And I think most cultures are like that, but I think we tend to take the cake sometimes because men don't cry, men don't ever show their emotions. You
Right.
have and I've been guilty of that with my son.
Yeah.
And hopefully I haven't hurt him, but that's awareness is what we need, and we're not
Yes.
always going to have the answers, right?
Right.
But the key is to be open and be willing
Yes.
to listen and to allow
Yep.
your kid to teach you as well.
Yeah.
You said something very great, about like my parents growing up in the 80s and 90s the way I did in Pakistan. I remember there was a time that my dad just smacked me around pretty significantly, and I don't remember this like word blow by blow, literally, no pun intended, but like
Yeah.
but I remember my mom told me, she's like, you started blinking like for the next couple of days, like I got a nervous tick where I would just
Yeah. Wow.
and she had a conversation with my dad. She
Ooh,
was like, look,
okay.
whatever you did to him, right, is going to a point. And I remember my dad then took me, we went to the beach, we had an ice cream and and all that. I remember that real well. I don't remember why he was doing it, but she connected the dots. She's like, he did that because he smacked you around a couple of times and you got this nervous tick.
Moms
Yeah.
know.
Even they were aware at that age, right?
Yeah.
They were watching, and I think we have the advantage and benefit, like you guys pointed out, of all this social media and all this knowledge that's at our fingertips.
Yeah.
We need to be cognizant of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
What the
Yes.
impact that we have on our children, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
our waking and sleeping habits, our eating habits, our bathroom habits, our
Yeah.
clothing choices. Everything as mundane, as minute as it can be, is going to have some level of influence on that.
Yeah.
That's so true. That's so true because I have a gallon of water right behind me, but I've noticed Ziana doesn't drink water as much, but she doesn't see us do that or
Do it.
just put that in as a necessity to a balanced nutrition. And as a child that young, they need to have those certain techniques. And obviously, at toddler stage, their eating habits are good. One day they want a snack and all that stuff. Ziana loves snacks or whatnot. But it's just to your point, is just those small, minute, mundane things are so impactful
Yep.
to the rest of their lives. And we have to be aware and cognizant of that because every action we do that they see, from her seeing me on my phone and now she plays the hello, right? That it's so impactful there that you have to be cognizant.
She is such a doll.
Yeah, she is. She is
Thank
so
you.
adorable.
Yeah.
I think I have more
She's-
photos of her than maybe you do because anytime we see her, I just am just capturing everything.
So
'cause-
you guys,
Yeah.
you guys know my cousin Adam, right? So
Yes,
Yeah, oh yeah,
yes.
oh yeah.
He's got 2 girls, right? So
Yeah.
So Adam's married to a fantastic young lady from
Yeah.
Kentucky named Jenna. So it's funny. So they have 2 daughters, and so the youngest one, Reagan.
Yeah.
I was joking with. I was like, that's a strong Pakistani name, right? Reagan,
Yeah.
Reagan Siddiqui. Right? But the same thing. Like they're on
Yeah.
the same age as
Yeah.
Jenna,
Yeah.
and man, I miss that age. I mean, I miss it, but I don't.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Like I love the cuteness. And
Yeah.
but I don't miss the diaper changes.
Yeah.
I don't miss like,
Right.
the 4 a.m.
Right.
waking up. And,
Yeah.
making formula and all
Yep.
that stuff. But no, I miss the cuteness. And,
Yeah.
so enjoy it, man. And
That's what we're trying to do because, we're going through it. We just took her off her pacifier a few weeks back. She's sleeping in our bed right now.
Oh, wow.
She won't lay down or let me read her books right now in the evening time. It's only mommy, mommy, mommy. And it's just like, okay, I want you to get out of that phase. But then it's like I wake up in the middle of the night and I just stare at her. And I'm like, I love this. This is like, please don't grow.
You made this.
Yeah,
I made this.
yeah, it's just insane and it's crazy, and you want to do everything for that human.
So true. The same thing with Sherbaz. I would
yeah,
stare at him for
yeah,
hours. Like,
yeah.
I was like, this came from me.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was, no, it is. Parenting
Yeah.
is the most rewarding,
Yes.
the most challenging,
Yes.
the most beautiful thing that I think we will ever do.
Right.
And it's kind of like a joke, like when you say to your kid, you're like, you're the best thing I'll ever do. And they're like, I'm the best thing you'll ever do? Now I feel bad for you.
Oh God.
But they truly are, right?
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Really are.
they are, and you realize certain moments of what you're experiencing, and then you think back to kind of what your parents have experienced, have said to you, or dealt with, or whatnot too. Because, like you said earlier in the episode, it's like you have hard conversations with your kids, or your daughter. But you're also turning around and having hard conversations with your parents, because now you're realizing certain experiences and whatnot as well, because now I'm going through that phase, because it's like when I deal with something, then I find myself asking my dad or mom about this, and then sharing those experiences of how you felt when you went through those phases and things. So, but man, great episode. Great. A lot of
great
takeaways. Do we have
episode.
time for rapid fire?
Yeah, we have
can
a
do
little bit of time.
rapid fire.
We're trying to limit these because we just keep going over and over.
I know. This
Yeah.
What happens when you get three friends together?
But
Yeah.
before we go
Yeah.
into the rapid fire, we'll
Yeah.
make this kind of quick. We like to also go to the professional side a little bit. So
yes,
just share
sorry.
with our audience a little bit about your professional career, what you're doing
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
So, for the majority of my career, guys, I've always been in finance. I've always, right out of college,
Yep.
I mean, that's all I've ever done. That's all I ever really know or knew. But I was your conventional banker, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I started right out of college. I was a branch manager, like, open your
Yep,
accounts.
yep.
So in retail banking, because you had to learn the business from the ground up, I felt.
Yep.
Even though I was a manager, I mean, I shouldn't say ground up, but
Right.
it was still very educational. Went into investment banking, got my investment licenses, did that, wealth management for a while. But the last 5 years, 6 years now, I've been doing a very niche form of finance, which is community development banking.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And,
Wow.
I always tell our top executives of the bank, I was like, you guys might be the brains and brawn of the bank, but I'm the heart.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. Huge. Huge.
I am the one that is out there in the community, ensuring that the profits that the bank enjoys from the community are then reinvested back
Yeah.
into projects that benefit the community,
Right.
and specifically that subset of the community that is extremely vulnerable.
Okay. Okay.
So we're talking about affordable housing units, we're talking about workplace development centers, we're talking about small business technical assistance
Yeah.
areas and workshops. There's obviously an element of social services like senior care and youth development and transportation.
Yeah.
I mean it's just the scope and the breadth of it is just, it's mind-boggling and it's fantastic.
Wow.
And every day I'm just gratified to do something that is bigger than me. Never lost on me. I'm a very tiny man in a big job. So never to sip on my own Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
that's-
No, I mean, you're the perfect fit. We've seen you grow into
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Obviously, we've all
exactly.
been a part of your career from the beginning, and seeing you in this new role and element the past 5-6 years is just, you're definitely the perfect fit. And don't sell yourself short that,
Right,
it is a big role,
right.
but you fit the shoes perfectly.
that.
So,
I'm not a politician.
yeah, we love what you do
Well, you're
out
about
there.
to be.
And
No,
it's
no,
crucial because big banks, small banks, they all have that negative connotation that they don't care. But you being out there, on the daily grind in the streets with the community, with the people, they need to see that you're
Yeah.
giving back.
You're proving them wrong. You're proving the world wrong.
Your
by showing
journey,
that.
Thank you for saying that.
your journey fits that mold because you come from those struggles too.
Right.
So you being able to share, and then you have an aggressive side too, where you can push things along to get things approved and whatnot too.
That
Yeah.
is exactly why I will never be a politician.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you see, when you're a politician,
Right.
you are beholden to so much that is
Yes.
not inside your control.
Yes.
Right? You're beholden to the pulse of the national politics,
Right,
what's happening. You could be the best man, but if you belong to the wrong party,
Yeah.
you're not getting elected.
Yep.
You want to do all this stuff, but you're worried about being reelected, so you don't, push the envelope.
Yep.
Like you're seeing with some folks
Yeah.
here, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
and it's I feel sometimes it's almost unfair to ask that guy to do that because he can't. I mean,
Right.
he's gonna literally shit on his own plate.
Yeah.
Right,
So,
yeah,
which is why
right.
I'm never going to be that guy because
Yeah.
I will lose the control that I have. Now,
Correct.
the control that I have.
You become controlled.
I can push
Yeah.
people and say, you know what, you need to do this.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do this, things are not going to happen. A politician can't do that. He's
Yeah.
going to be like, oh, please do this. Oh, if you don't give, I will wait for it. Like, they're wishy-washy.
Yeah.
They have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Because There's shit
Yeah.
they can't control.
right.
And
right.
I want to be, I talked to mentioned it. She always says, she's like, you're a control freak. I hate flying because of you. I want to control my destiny. I want to
Yeah,
control
sure.
my environment as
Yeah.
best as I can. Because there's so much. We're basically a streetcar hurtling down the street without any control in
Yeah.
life, right?
Yeah.
Our planet, us, everything.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So whatever control that I can assume in my life, I'm grateful for because I can only impact what I can control.
Yeah.
So that's why politics is never going to be for men like me because we will lose that semblance of control that we have.
Yeah.
And you're not and I'm very humbled and gratified by this. I'll be honest and tell you, I've had political parties reach out. I've had, organizations, people. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
Well, when you find out you got nominated for something, don't look at us.
I'm just not smart enough to be that guy who can play both sides of the fence.
Yeah.
Again, like
Yeah, I
I
can
said,
understand.
what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
That's why I don't have that many friends. I have a lot of acquaintances, but I can count on one hand the people I can call my friends, and I'm
Yeah.
happy with that. I'm okay with that.
Because it's about quality. It's not about quantity.
Totally about quality. And
Yeah.
and I
It's-
can tell these guys, I don't have to see them every day. Like I can
Yeah.
say, what, I don't feel like hanging out tonight, and
Yeah.
they're gonna be offended. And vice
Yeah.
versa.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or they can come to my house where I'm literally, maybe TMI now, but I'll be in a pair of boxers and an undershirt.
We've seen Hamad like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Day in and day out. All right, in
Yeah,
college.
exactly. So I'm not what you call a sartorial man.
Sartorial,
Yeah, I
man.
am.
I don't even know what sartorial
Yeah,
means.
Like a dress whore, like a
You
clothes
use
whore.
okay. You use very big words.
Yeah.
Throughout your whole
I'm very
throughout
pretentious. I'm a pretentious man. Yeah, I studied up all these words.
Oh yeah.
Love that.
Oh
Love
yeah. No,
that.
I took poli sci with this guy in college. I know he knows some big words.
We did some Indian history together too.
Yeah, we did some stuff.
It's
Oh
funny, she had me
man.
grading papers. It was great. That was a great class. Dr. Barbara Ramisak, if you're out there.
Wow.
I tell you, I met
Shout
with Dr.
out.
Terry
Shout out from the
Wow,
past.
Robbie?
really?
I had coffee with him.
Wow. I think you may have said this.
I think I posted it on my social media.
You might have. Wow.
He introduced me to John Cranley when John Cranley was right out of law school.
Yeah. Well, that's
And
right.
we wrote a paper on John Cranley, and we didn't know that John would eventually
Would be
Mayor.
see
Yeah.
see you're supposed to be mayor.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
supposed to be.
No, it's Cincinnati. We're a small big town.
Small, big
or
town, yeah.
Big small city, whatever you want
Big,
to call
small
it.
town, whatever.
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 degrees of separation, more than 6.
All right, so let's
Yeah.
do some rapid fire real quick, just
All
so
right,
we
let's
can
do it.
humanize
Let's
you
do it, yeah.
more than you're already been humanized,
Yeah.
I guess. All right, we're just gonna ask you some quick questions. You just gotta answer them.
All right.
I'll start easy. Favorite sports team?
Pakistan cricket. All
I
the way.
knew you were
Yeah,
gonna
we
say
knew
that.
that.
Pakistan cricket. Huh? What's your guys' record with India in the last few years? yeah.
I like how you said last few years. Let's talk about the historical record.
That's why I said
Yeah.
I had to pick a date range.
Yeah.
I know. I don't watch Pakistan India matches anymore.
Watch the Netflix documentary if you want. All right, favorite place to travel?
Wow, I love travel, so that's a hard one. But I
Yeah.
would say Istanbul, Turkey.
Istanbul. Okay.
My favorite, best city, greatest city in the world.
Is it Turkey or is it Turkey? Like, what? How do you say it now?
Turkey.
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 All right, everyone say Turkey, not Turkey. All right. Favorite food? I think I know what you're gonna say.
Nihari.
Nihari. Yeah. I'm trying to make sure I still remember you. If you could, okay. If you could be any animal, what animal?
I'd be a lion.
Lion, shed. Yeah.
I'm
well,
a Leo
sing,
actually as well,
sing.
so I don't know.
Oh, you are. Okay. Okay.
astrologically, so
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know how that. Yeah, but
Translates. Yeah.
yeah, that's my
If-
favorite animal.
If you could have a conversation with anyone, past, present, future, who would that person be?
Sentimentally, I would say my father. Knowing him now as a man and as a father and as a breadwinner and the elder of my family, I understand him so much more. And I want to get a little bit
Yeah.
weird, so, but yeah, historically, Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali. Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow. No, and you can
that.
get emotional, man.
Yeah,
This
you
is-
absolutely can.
This is what makes us all human. This is why
exactly.
we
This
do
is the reason we do this, is to share the vulnerability and peel back the layers, because like we said in the earlier in the episode, it's like, okay, yeah, we're men, we don't cry, all this stuff. It's we
cry.
We do cry.
We all cry.
We do have feelings. We do have emotions. We do have fears and burdens and responsibilities. But dude,
That's
Yeah.
great.
Just miss the dude, man.
yeah, of course. And he's looking down on us and you, and proud of you for sure.
Ooh,
and
that's my work, man.
Yeah,
I've got if there's one thing you could leave on a piece of paper for your kids, what would that be? I know it's a little hard. And
It's gonna sound like a cliche again, but like I said, I help craft who they are, and I know who they are. So I would just tell them to be true to themselves, because I love who they are.
yeah,
Like each and every one of them.
Yeah.
From the littlest one who she's growing up to, I love her. In
Yeah.
every way. Just be true to it.
man, that's all I got. I think that's a great way.
that's
Varun,
a
any
great.
takeaways
There was
from your
definitely a
end?
lot of takeaways from this episode, and we appreciate you making the time. And
Sorry for the waterworks, man.
No, dude, we need
this
it.
is
Let
great.
it flow.
It hits, man. It hits with all of us. It resonates with all of us, our viewers, our listeners, for sure. But this one is a good one.
This is a great.
Thank you for making the time. Vikas, I'll let you take us out. But a reminder or an announcement, we are doing a Girl Dads networking and workshop event. Madeline is coming into town.
Who's Madeline?
Madeline, the author of Girl Dad. We were blessed with her presence a few episodes ago. So we're excited for her to be visiting and be in town. So we're going to host her and do a fun it'll be titled Fatherhood on the Rocks, but that ties into a bourbon tasting experience we'll be doing at the event, a networking event, as well as she'll kind of share a little bit about her book and have a little presentation, but super fun, super casual. We would love all girl dads, future girl dads, to be out to come visit. We'll share details on the website, social media.
Yes.
So look out for that. And again, thank you, Ahmad, for making the time, sharing with us your inner moments, sharing with us who you are, what you're about, and what you're passionate about. So thank you for that. It means a lot, brother.
Yeah. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
This is so fantastic.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Thank you to Varun for starting this whole thing and having the vision to move forward. And it's not always easy, guys. Like, even though it's like a 1 hour conversation, like just everything that goes into it, this is a lot of work. So kudos, Varun, for doing this. Hamad Siddiqui for being here with us, brother. We love you. We love all of you out there.
And don't forget Vikas Only, too.
Yeah,
he's behind the scenes on everything, so he's great.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
We all
Behind the
Yeah.
No, thank you. And thank you, everyone, for listening to episode 5 of Listings and Lullabies, A Girl Dad's Journey, with your host, Varun Varma. I'm Vikas Sandhi, and our special guest, Hamad Siddiqui. Don't forget to check us out on our website, girldadspodcast.com. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook at girldads.podcast. And also follow us, like us, everything on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all the other favorite podcast streaming platforms. We love you all. Thank you. We'll see you at episode 6.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. We'll see you on the next one.